Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. We start as usual with a question that's come in advance, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. I do everything for my family, and I do it with pure love and devotion. But I have to admit, sometimes I feel as though they're taking advantage of me. They expect so much and give so little in return. I don't think I'll ever change. I'll always be devoted to them. But it really hurts me the way they treat me. So there's a couple different ways of looking at this. Whether it's your family, whether it's in a workplace, wherever it is. One way to look at a situation like this is from the level of our highest purpose on earth, which is to know and experience the truth of who we are as divine, as one with God. And whether we're being thanked and appreciated, whether we're the one who always does the dishes, or whether someone else helps out sometimes, whether we are the one who does all the work, who's always giving, or whether it's more of a give and take, regardless of that situation. One way of looking at it is, well, the highest reason for which I'm here on earth is to experience the presence of the divine in myself, to know myself as one with the divine. And sometimes that opportunity comes in just unappreciated service, in just giving and giving and giving. Unrequited love. The giving 100%, getting 0 back. Sometimes it comes in a whole variety of other ways. But from the level of the soul, and the reason for which the soul has incarnated, it has nothing to do with how much we're appreciated. It has nothing to do with how much we're respected. It has nothing to do with how the work gets divvied up 50-50 if there's 2 people, or, equally among 4 siblings doing chores. None of that has anything to do, from the soul perspective, of me attaining what I am here for. And so one way of looking at this, when it is a family, is to say, well, okay, so God has put me in this situation. The universe has put me in this situation. My karmic journey has put me in this situation. Clearly, my work is to be done in this situation. And that whatever they are giving me in terms of the lessons, the challenges, the teachings, the opportunity. Because when you get really appreciated and loved and everything gets divvied up really fairly, there's actually much less of an opportunity to go within and do the the deep work. There's nothing pushing you within. When everything on the outer levels is going exactly according to what our ego self wants, well, then there isn't any discomfort. And when there isn't any discomfort, nothing pushes us deeper. But that's not what we're here for. We didn't take birth to keep our egos comfortable. We're not here, this life, these breaths, are not here as just a package to give the ego as much joy and comfort as we possibly can. We're here to house or hold or be a vehicle of the soul on its journey. So I would say, allow yourself, on the one hand, to look at this experience from the perspective of the soul's journey. This is where you are. This is what has been given to you. How can you, in this situation, doing most of the work, getting very little in exchange, a sort of Cinderella syndrome, how in that circumstance can you find and experience that presence of the divine within yourself? Because that's critical. That's the deepest and the highest level, is how can I, in whatever the universe throws at me, how can I realize in that my highest calling? And then, of course, there's the level of what we could talk about as sort of individual dharma. And on the level of individual dharma, well, if you find yourself in a position of being the caretaker in your family, you can be pretty sure that some of your dharma, a part of your dharma, is being the caretaker in the family. That's why you have found yourself in that situation. So recognize that and embrace that. Okay, everybody's got a different dharma. People are here doing different things. We've got different skills, different abilities, different opportunities, different histories, pasts, circumstances, situations. The greatest crime we can commit against our own self is to try to compare our dharma with someone else's. Why do they get to live like that and I live like this? Right? Why do they have that situation and I have this situation? Well, we all have different situations. And there's opportunity, beautiful opportunity, and there's challenge. And we look at that. I mean, many of you know that my mom had a very bad stroke last year. And I went back to America. I spent 7 months there. The longest I've been out of India in 25 years. And then eventually at the end of that 7 months, when there was nothing that Western medicine could do, I brought her back here with me to India, back to the ashram. Now, if I had had 2 or 3 or 4 or even 1 sister or brother, or close cousin, sister, brother, the way that in Indian families it's all kind of one family with shared responsibilities, would it have been easier? Of course. Would it have been a lot smoother, a lot less stressful? Of course. And yet, it was very clear to me when I look back over the 51 years of my life that being an only child contributed to who I am in a dharmic sense on so many different levels. That there's so much that it gave me in terms of opportunity, experience. And yeah, this is one of the experiences and opportunities that only children go through when their parents age. Is there isn't this community of siblings or cousin siblings to jump in and share. And so when you find yourself in situations to really recognize, okay, so here's my dharma. And not to get into a situation of like, oh my God, this one's got, 4 brothers and sisters and they all live in the same city as the parents, making it so much easier. Not only is that useless, but it's actually very detrimental because it pulls you out of the ability to really anchor in your dharma. Then it makes life look like the whole purpose is just for life to be as simple and easy and, relaxed as possible. But we know that's not what we're here for. Or we all would have been, born into Club Med. Why go anywhere else, right? We would just be born there and our parents would live there and our whole life would just be, some expanding version of a global Club Med. But that's not what we're here for. And so when you find yourself as that caretaker in the family, recognize that your dharma is in there. So we've got the level of the soul in which any opportunity you're given is the opportunity in which you are supposed to connect with the divine, experience the truth of who you are. We've got the level of your dharma, in which being able to do what you are doing is a blessing, because it's enabling you to fulfill your dharma, which is the only way for you to ultimately attain, whether we say enlightenment or moksha or liberation, or even if we just say peace and joy in life. Because running away and neglecting our responsibilities does not bring peace. Maybe fine during the day when you can pretend that you haven't neglected your responsibilities. But at night, when it's time to go to sleep, it's going to eat you. It's going to eat you. And that's why whatever our responsibilities are, when we fulfill them, our duties, we actually feel so much more anchored, grounded, calm, peaceful, connected. But then, of course, the last level is that aspect of your individual dharma that goes into another level beyond just you as a caretaker in a family, but that also goes into your particular path. Your yearning, that call of your heart to express your heart, to express your gifts, to express your love in the world. We all have a need inside to share who we are on a deep level that love of who we are, that truth of who we are. Not just the divine in me that's the same as the divine in you, so there's really nothing to share because it's just, right, God telling God about God. But the level of our own individual karmic stories. There's a yearning to share that, to share our human heart, and to be seen. And if you're not getting that in your family, then I would suggest that you see where else you can get that. Doesn't mean leave the family, but it means are there communities, spiritual communities, meditation communities, communities of service that you can be part of, in which you can find people, friends, with whom you can share your heart and who can see you and feel you, and with whom you can feel seen and felt and connected. Because if you're not getting that in your family, then see where else you can get that. It's a critical form of nourishment. And so, first of all, from your side, try to give that love and give that seeing to others, to your family members, and to others. And then if you really don't get any of it back, it's okay. Our families aren't necessarily everything. It's why we have friends. It's why we have other communities. Find a community you can connect with. At the temple, in a yoga class, in a meditation class, in a kirtan group, in a volunteer organization. And just connect. Feel seen, see others. Have that sharing of your heart. And then I think you'll be able to find that this situation, first of all, it's most likely not permanent. Sadly, we don't have our parents forever. Assuming that we of course live to a ripe old age, chances are we're going to lose our parents significantly before that. So be grateful for the time that you have to be in service. And allow it to be your spiritual practice. Such that it's not about them appreciating you or sharing it, but it's just this is your spiritual practice. Does anyone here have a question? Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I have a bad cold.
No problem.
Namaste. I wanted to understand the concept of self-love from you. Like there are certain things in my life that I'm giving priority to. Sometimes I feel I might be neglecting the feelings of other people around me. And sometimes I feel that it is for my own good. For instance, I've been married for 6 years now. We don't have kids. We don't intend to have ones. But the other people around me, and sometimes it just brings me down. We both equally love our work so much. We don't want to invest so much into raising a child. So I just wanted to understand your take on whether giving importance to yourself, to your dreams, to your desires is bad, because you're then neglecting the feelings of other people around you.
Beautiful question. First of all, there's no rule on any level that says thou shalt have children. You don't have to have children. Now, when you talk about neglecting the feeling of those around you, the decision to have a child should be up to you and your husband. And if both of you are fully in agreement about not wanting to have children, and it's just the feeling of maybe other members of the family, other people in society, well, you should never, ever, ever, ever make a decision as big and as important like having a child, or what your job is going to be, or where you're going to live. I mean, things that really occupy your life based on what someone else wants you to do. Because those are life decisions. I mean, you're the one who has to live with it. Someone may say to you, oh, yeah, you should have kids. But where are they at 3 a.m? Right? I mean, nobody's saying you should have kids. Oh, and by the way, don't worry, I'll move in with you and take care of it all for you. Of course. So people are very good at telling you what you should do. The question always is, well, are they actually prepared to take some responsibility for the decision that they've made you take? And the answer usually is no. It's interesting because you began by asking about self-love or loving others, and I was expecting that you were going to say that you already had the child, and now you are in this stuck situation of what you want or taking care of the child. At which point the answer would be very different, because you would have already given birth to a being for whom you have very specific and important, critical responsibilities. But you haven't yet. So, at this point, there is no one whose wishes or choices should take precedence over yours for your life. Now, obviously, you're married. You and your husband are going to make these sorts of big decisions together. Obviously, you're a daughter to parents. You're going to, care for them in whatever way they need. But having a child that's asking not just for, hey, could you come over and help me bake some cookies? That's like, hey, could you please essentially delegate or dedicate the next 20 years of your life to what I think you should do? That's not a decision that anyone should ever make for you. That has to come from deep within. And if and when the time is right, you and your husband will know. But going back to the general question of self-love or what others want, self-love is not selfish at all. It's very interesting. On a spiritual level, we are exhorted to love all, serve all, but there's nowhere in which we are told that I is not in that all. So there's no teaching that says love all except yourself. Serve all except yourself. Well, you are also in that all. To neglect the self is to neglect the very reason that you are here. You also, on a deep level, cannot actually be of any kind of deep help to another when you are neglecting yourself. You can help them superficially, right? I mean, you can stuff envelopes for an organization for, the entire weekend, Friday night till Monday morning, you won't sleep. Yeah, the envelopes will get stuffed. You're going to be exhausted. But all they needed was you helping on a very superficial level. So, okay, calm ho ya. The fact that you're exhausted is sort of irrelevant. But if you're going to help others on a deeper level, if you're going to really be of service on any kind of a deep level, and by the way, stuffing envelopes is critical, and they're very important things that, organizations who need to raise money have to do. And everybody needs all hands on deck. But in our lives, we're meant to serve on so many levels, not only on that level. We're meant to serve through the very nature of who we are, which infuses what we do, such that everyone we are talking to, colleagues in our workplace, neighbors, other community members, people we meet through our work or people we meet through our life, even just briefly for a moment, that they are touched by that interaction, that we have brought them a light, a smile, a prayer, a loving hand, a blessing that has touched them. And as long as we are neglecting ourselves on a deep level, yeah, physically, anyone who has succeeded on any level, anyone who's achieved anything on any level has had plenty of handfuls of, sleepless nights and meal-less days and whatnot. It's part of the package of making an impact in the world. I know we all have. But neglecting the self on a deep level, in terms of not doing what you know you are meant to do in the world, because someone else wants you to have a child that's going to pull you out of that for the next 10 plus years, you won't be able to really serve that child or your dharma if you've done it not based on what you know you need to do. So self-love it's not arrogance, it's not ego, it's not just, love of my physical body and I'm going to just, spend all day putting, tanning creams or fairness creams, as the case may be, on my skin, or, getting manicures or pedicures, or it's not love of the self, just of the body. We take care of the body, it's got to stay healthy, it's our medium of awakening. But self-love is love of the self, and the self is not the body. It's love of the true self. And when you really love yourself, and you serve that self, that's when you're able to really serve the world. If you neglect your heart, your dharma, your sadhana, what are you going to give the world? And the truth is, anyone who really loves you is going to want you to live your dharma. They're going to want you to do what makes your heart feel alive. And what I've seen on a very personal level in my life is they come around. Yeah, in the beginning they've all got their agendas. I know my parents did. It's like, how many kids are you going to pop out? It's part of the package deal of, being a child. You give your parents grandchildren. But ultimately, at the deepest level, what parents want is for their children to be happy. They probably want you to have children because they think that's what's going to make you happy. They're doing their best. But they only know themselves, not you, on the deepest level. Only you know yourself on the deepest level. So honor them, thank them, be grateful to them for their love and their care. But trust your own self. Only you know you. And ultimately, if following your heart brings you that joy, that's what's going to bring them joy. And you just have to have faith that it will happen. Because really, ultimately, that's what they want. If they really love you, what they want is that you'll be happy. Beautiful. Yeah. Any other questions? Beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. A beautiful, beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And I look so forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. And have a really, really beautiful, beautiful evening.